East Africa, 2 million years ago. Our early ancestors were driven by the instinct to survive. But there's another primal instinct, one that's been motivating every creature on Earth since life began: the drive to reproduce. Sex. Without this powerful force, the world would be a much duller place indeed. In the next 6 programs, nature explores the wonder, the natural history, the mystery of sex. And just when we thought we understood it, sex surprises us. For seahorses, it's the proud father who gives birth. A female lizard becomes pregnant after this close encounter with another female. Crocodiles can choose the sex of their young. But some things never change, like the way we attract the opposite sex. The dating game of the natural world. And after sex, new life. The final stage in this sexual journey is parenthood. And of course, without sex, none of us would be here.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and by annual financial support from viewers like you, your local gas company, and America's natural gas industry, providing air conditioning that helps preserve the ozone layer. And by Canon, quality and innovation for the way we work and live. Canon.
A primal instinct for any creature, a bee, an elephant, or a human, is to pass on its genes. To do this, sexual beings need a partner. That's why Noah's animals went onto the ark 2 by 2. It's also why birds sing, why flowers smell so sweet, and why men and women spend so much time and energy trying to get together. For all creatures, following the instinct to pass on one's genes is often frustrating, but always fascinating. The journey begins with the search for a mate. Perhaps one of the most beautiful spectacles of nature occurs when one animal tries to woo another. We call it courtship. Every winter, Japanese red-crowned cranes perform an ice ballet, a choreographed message to the opposite sex that they are ready to mate. It's easy to see why courtship has been called the dance of life. Courtship is a way of advertising for a mate. And it's usually the males that must put themselves on display. They're the actors, the females, the audience. Male birds of paradise have long and elaborate plumage, a little impractical for flying, but the ladies find it irresistible. Males can mate with many females, but first they must compete for them. In this contest, looks score big points. These females have one mate, and so they're very choosy. This male doesn't make the cut. Male adornments come in all shapes and sizes. Sometimes they're as much of an impediment to the male as they are a lure for the female. The male fiddler crab's one enormous claw may get in the way of feeding, but it's essential for his sex life, so he keeps it in excellent condition. The female does not have a giant claw and has no problem eating. But the male needs the claw for courtship. Throughout the animal kingdom, it's usually the males that compete for females and try to win their favor. Male bowerbirds are not born with their displays, they build them. For these birds, architecture is sexy. The bower is not a nest. The only purpose of this elaborate structure is to impress the female. She judges his bower as an indication of his overall quality. Since the only thing he'll contribute to the next generation is his genes, she needs to choose the best male around. Sometimes the males decide among themselves who's the best choice. For elephant seals, only the biggest and strongest males get to breed. Dominant males are enormous, but they'll need this massive bulk in breeding season. In order to devote all their attention to sex, they'll stop eating and live off their fat. As soon as the females come ashore, the battles begin. The males fight to establish dominance and win harems. Many are willing to die for that opportunity. They can't pass on their genes if they don't get the girl. Zebras have harems too, and again, some of the males never get to have sex. These young bachelors may one day challenge a stallion and take over his females. Until then, they spend these years just horsing around. These play fights enable them to practice skills they'll need when it comes time for the real thing. Stallions with harems are constantly defending their mares from hopeful contenders. It's winner take all in this mating game. When a lioness is ready to conceive, she makes the fact very clear. She becomes a bit of a flirt, walking slowly by a dominant male to make sure he notices her. Most female mammals release eggs every month, but for a lioness, it's the act of mating that triggers ovulation. Lions must mate frequently, perhaps every 15 minutes for 3 days. Reproduction isn't easy for them. Not only do they have difficulty conceiving, but most cubs die young. This means a male will have to mate about 3,000 times to make sure his genes are represented in the next generation. Magellanic penguins mate with the same partner year after year. The pair split up in winter to feed at sea, and somehow each spring they manage to reunite on the shores of Patagonia. For these females, one of the hardest things about the mating game is finding their mate in the crowd. The males arrived earlier to reclaim last year's burrows. A raucous fanfare erupts when the males see their old flames approaching. Amazingly, she can recognize her mate just by his call. After months of separation, they have to get reacquainted. The chemistry is still there. They mate near the family burrow. For many insects, mating is the only social moment in their lives, and there's no time for courtship. In the Arizona desert, digger bees develop underground. The males emerge first and immediately start searching for females. When he detects her scent below, he helps dig her out. But just because this male has come to her aid, it doesn't necessarily mean he'll get to mate with her. All the other males rush in as soon as she emerges. Like most other animals, the males must compete for the female, but this time she gets caught in the middle. Eventually, the biggest and strongest wins the massive wrestling match and flies off with his trophy. The dead rivals he leaves behind attest to the power and intensity of the drive to reproduce. In some cases, females are in total control of the situation. Normally, mating joins a male's sperm with a female's egg, but for every rule, there's an exception. One of these whip-tailed lizards will become pregnant after this embrace, but these are both females. They have no need for sperm. In fact, there are no males in this species. The undersea world provides new meaning to the expression boy meets girl. Barnacles can't move around in search of a mate. When they settle down, they're stuck in the same place for life. But barnacles don't need to worry about finding the opposite sex. An individual is not male or female, it's male and female. It can become either one, depending on what its neighbors are up to. When it's being male, it extends a long penis to see if anybody is being female. A barnacle may be immobile, but that doesn't mean it can only have sex with the barnacles next door. For many species, it takes a lot of hard work to attract and court the opposite sex, and we are no exception. Like all animals, much of our behavior is rooted in the drive to reproduce.
Thank you, Jesus. Thank you.
Some individuals will do anything for sex, even risk their own lives. It's dangerous in the deep, so this male's display is quick and to the point. The female jawfish will have to leave the safety of her home if she wants a date. She ventures out, lured by the promise of love. But someone's been watching the whole affair. She barely escapes the jaws of a scorpionfish. Now, the whole idea of going out tonight has lost its appeal. She decides to stay home and clean house instead. Male spadefoot toads call out for a partner in the light of a full moon, perfect for romance. But someone has been eavesdropping. It's a hog-nosed snake that answers his call. In defense, he inflates his body, but the snake just unhinges his jaws and devours him. Sometimes a male's greatest threat comes from his own partner. The male redback spider is tiny compared to his mate, but that's not a problem. He maneuvers into position very carefully and then begins to insert the sperm with his legs. The problem is that when the mating's over, she never wants to see him again. And to ensure this, she kills him. Males don't help raise the young, so all she needs from him are his genes. She'll make a meal out of him later. This odd behavior, called sexual cannibalism, is also practiced by another spider, appropriately named the black widow. Although the male has given his life for sex, he has tried to ensure that his genes are passed on. He's left a plug in the female so that no other males can mate with her. In Australia, there's a male with a very unhealthy sexual appetite. A male marsupial mouse forages for food. He'll need lots of energy for his next rendezvous. He's found a potential mate. They check each other out. Then he makes his move. He's a little too eager for her tastes, and she plays hard to get. When the suitor finally meets with her approval, mating begins. But this male doesn't just mate and leave. He keeps mating for up to 12 hours. Prolonged mating helps to ensure fertilization. When a female gives birth, she's always sure that she's the mother. This male has done all he can to guarantee that he's the father. After such intense mating with several females, he dies. He's paid the ultimate price for sex. On the African plains, a gazelle is in trouble. It's a pregnant female and she's having problems giving birth. Her distress has not gone unnoticed. Scavengers on the ground and in the air are beginning to circle in anticipation. Females can be at great risk during pregnancy. This gazelle has put her life on the line to give birth. She uses her last ounce of strength to try and escape. Her ordeal ends mercifully in the powerful jaws of a hyena. Why do animals risk so much to reproduce? Reproduction enables an organism to pass on its own characteristics through its genes, but sex is not the only way to reproduce. Bacteria reproduce without sex. They don't mix their genes with those of another. They just copy their own, again and again and again. They still pass on their genes, but all their descendants are exactly alike. They're clones. This is called asexual reproduction. There's no need for a partner, and it's incredibly efficient. In one day, a single bacterium could produce 76 billion trillion descendants. Some higher organisms can reproduce asexually too. This baby aphid is an exact replica of its mother. What more could a parent ask for? If asexual reproduction is so simple and efficient, then why do most species on Earth reproduce sexually? It all has to do with the sperm and the egg. Mating, or sex, has one main purpose: to mix the genes from the female with those of the male. Human males release millions of sperm at a time, each one carrying a full complement of genes. Only one of these sperm will win the competition to fertilize the egg. The genes from two organisms are now joined to produce a new combination. The fertilized cell begins to divide and make its way to the womb. Combining genes instead of just copying them creates something brand new. Each individual is unique. And that's what sex is all about. Sex produces variety. There's never been another child like this one. Or this one. Or this one. And there never will be. We may all think we know what's so good about sex, but biologically speaking, sex is wonderful because of the infinite variety it produces. Variety is the spice of life. Through reproduction, an individual lives on in the next generation. But the work isn't over yet. The final stage of this reproductive journey is parenthood. A wildebeest mother is about to experience the miracle of birth. It's hard work for both the mother and her calf. This baby doesn't even have a moment to catch its breath. With so many predators around, it's too dangerous to rest for long. Within the first minute of its life, it has to get up and go. Its mother leads it slowly as the calf learns to use its wobbly legs. Meanwhile, below ground, there's a very bizarre birth going on. These are naked mole rats, nicknamed saber-toothed sausages for their odd appearance. They live in a subterranean world. It's one big happy family. Everyone in the colony has the same mother. She gives birth to all the babies. In a large colony, that can be a very big job. She's so enormous she can hardly move. Since the colony members are all brothers and sisters, they share many genes, and they all will help care for these babies. Though members will never have young of their own, they can pass on their genes indirectly by helping to raise their siblings. Everyone has a job to do, like digging tunnels and finding food. There's even a bathroom monitor. He makes sure the youngsters know where the toilet is. They get dropped off near the entrance, and then they're on their own. But they're not allowed to loiter. Life underground is a family affair, and the work is never done. Most insects don't raise their young, but that doesn't mean they can't give them a head start. This jewel wasp is hunting for food to give her larva. A cockroach would make a very good meal. She attacks the cockroach and stings him, but doesn't kill him. She just paralyzes him. To add insult to injury, she cuts off the ends of his antennae. This hinders his ability to orient himself. The point of all this is to keep him alive, but make sure he doesn't escape while she attends to other matters. The expectant mother now starts the second stage of the preparations. She clears away some rocks from the entrance to her tunnel. The cockroach can only wait for his fate to unfold. The drugged victim is led away to the wasp's chamber. She lays a single egg on its body. Before she leaves, she builds a wall, entombing the cockroach with her offspring. As it grows, the larva has a living feast. Eventually, the cockroach dies, and a young wasp emerges from its skeleton. This youngster has parents it will never see, but there are all sorts of mothers and fathers in the animal kingdom. Many birds provide intensive care for their young, beginning with the egg. One of their concerns is protection. This monitor lizard is heading right for the scrub turkey's nest. It dives in and finds a protein-packed meal. Scrub turkeys incubate in a very unusual way. Instead of sitting on the eggs, they use rotting vegetation to provide heat. But now the lizard has invaded his giant compost heap. He still has a few eggs left, so he tries to persuade the lizard to leave by creating a disturbance. Success at last, and as the monitor leaves, Father gives him a few farewell nips. He repairs the nest and regulates its temperature by rearranging the vegetation. This way, the eggs don't cook in the hot Australian sun. Predators are always on the lookout for vulnerable young prey. These lionesses have spotted a zebra foal. Once it's separated from the herd, it has little hope of joining them again. Sometimes there's nothing a parent can do. The jacana is nicknamed the Jesus bird for its ability to walk on water. Actually, long toes help spread its weight on water lilies so that it doesn't sink. With most birds, both parents share the responsibilities of childcare. But a mother jacana doesn't stick around, and the male becomes a single parent. He must leave the chicks on their own when he goes out for a meal. They can't fly or walk very fast, and many predators would consider them a light snack. But their father has been keeping an eye on them, and when the crocodile gets a little too close for comfort, he quickly rushes in to their defense. His body is specially adapted for this dangerous situation. He may not have hands to lift his youngsters, but he can still scoop them up with his wings. They climb on board and nestle into his feathers. He carries them to safety, Jacana style. One bird has found a way to raise its young without doing any work at all. A reed warbler is incubating her eggs. When the warbler leaves, a female cuckoo swoops into her nest. She's a thief, but a very unusual one. She takes one of the warbler's eggs, but leaves one of her own in return. The cuckoo's egg looks like the warbler's, and the number of eggs hasn't changed. Everything appears normal, but appearances can be deceiving. Something is not quite right. One chick has hatched way before the others and is ejecting the remaining eggs. It's the cuckoo's chick. It gets rid of the warbler's eggs so that it will get all the attention. The warblers react instinctively to its gaping mouth with food. The young cuckoo's natural parents have tricked the warbler family into adopting their chick. Most birds, however, cannot shirk the responsibility of parenting. In fact, some birds seem to have more than their fair share, like the rheas of South America. This male incubated the eggs of many females. Now he has to babysit all the young. He's got quite a lot to handle by himself. There can be more than 50 youngsters in a rhea family. The chicks are very vulnerable at the water hole, and the male is especially protective here. This female is the mother of some of the youngsters, but he won't even let her drink until the chicks have had their fill. The chicks follow the male wherever he goes. Those that haven't been paying attention call out to let their father know they've been left behind. In Argentina, there's an odd-looking creature called a mara, a type of rodent. It, too, has a strange way of raising its young. Young maras are placed in a communal nursery, and couples take turns minding them. Though she'll watch over all the young, a mother will only provide milk for her own. Youngsters try to suckle from any mother. This one not only has the wrong parent, but the wrong sex. The male ignores this misdirected youth. He tries again, approaching a female with renewed hope. Finally, he finds his mother and his lunch. Africa, where hunters rule. Yet even a future king of the beasts begins life requiring a lot of mothering. For most mammals, the main responsibilities of parenting are fulfilled by the females. Only a female can get pregnant and provide the young with milk. And so, it's the mother lion who's left with all the child rearing. These youngsters have to learn how to survive on the African plains, and most of this information comes from watching mother. A young lion's relationship with its mother is the most important one of its life. Childhood is not just about growing older, it's also about growing wiser. It takes years for a young primate to acquire essential survival skills, including proper social behavior. Gradually, this young macaque will learn how to take care of itself and be ready to become a parent, too. Then it will start off on its own journey to court, to mate, and to continue the age-old cycle of life. Next time on The Nature of Sex, the forces of nature send cosmic signals that stir sexual awakening. A whale seeks a mate. A tigerfish finds one. Bull elephants have a shoving match over a female. And ibex butt heads to win a harem. Even for sex, there is a time and a place. Next time on The Nature of Sex.
Nature is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting and biannual financial support from viewers like you. Your local gas company and America's natural gas industry, fueling vehicles for a cleaner environment. And by Canon, quality and innovation for the way we work and live. Canon.